Good day, everyone. Getting a lot of positive feedback on how much Spartan Games content we're bringing you. So once again, we've got a little bit of insight, this time from Brakken. This is a very short video, relatively speaking. It's about 10 minutes, and you can hear the entire interview on our podcast right now. Go to your favorite listening app, iTunes, Spotify, what have you. But I wanted to bring you this chat, just a teaser, if you will, of Brakken and I. Away we go. So would you like to talk about who we think might have done well besides the obstacle racers?
It's funny. Hunter and I had 2 calls before the event where we did this exact episode with each other. We ranked it out, and he scored it, and I scored it with a pen and paper and tried to predict who was going to be his competition. And we gave everyone a ranking in every event. Did
you record it or not record it?
We did not record it. This was just, so I've had this conversation twice, and I feel primed.
Okay, great. So then let's have this conversation. I should have the list of athletes up, but they're on the other article we wrote, which has all the athletes. Did any athletes surprise you that I was impressed they got this person?
No, I guess I'm surprised. Yeah, Josiah. He initially surprised me, and then after I heard that, I started hearing all the rumors of him wanting to do next season, the series and all that. But yeah, the try guys, Jared and Josiah, that really surprised me because they're so specialized. Josiah branches off more, but Jared, I thought, no way would a guy like that come over and risk injury or looking bad. And Max.
Josiah, I had gotten on the podcast like a week before this event, having no idea he was coming. That I saw that he was at the Eco Challenge, and I was like, I've always wanted to talk to you. I know your name from the 2011 Spartan Championship. I watched that video of you against Hobie. So we break down that video in the episode I did with him.
Okay.
And he didn't let on at all that he was going to be there. So I'll have him back on and we'll talk about it. But anyway, so where were we? Who we think might do well? Is that what you want to talk about? Who we think might do well?
Yeah, because we don't know the results, right?
I don't know the results.
Yeah, so
and I really don't. I'm not
we're just trying to predict.
To be cute.
We're like the fantasy football guys predicting who's going to score well.
Exactly. So I'm going to say Grant knows how to grab an obstacle or two, right? And then
certainly knows how to grab it.
That's and I just assume everybody else is not going to do well on a spear or a rig situation. I feel like everybody else is going to struggle.
So our take was that it was Atkins and Hunter's race to lose, with Newell being the next guy up
for the obstacle race.
For Spartan Cross.
Well,
yeah.
I meant besides the obstacle racers, so we assume.
Well, yeah. So those are top 3, and then after that, I think Josiah and Grant. I watched. No, I was in that race with Josiah and Hobie
in 2011.
Yeah, I was. Young and I battled for third the whole time, and I got DQ'd at the Tyrolean. I couldn't make it over it.
We talked about that briefly, but did Jack Bauer point that photo out to you of the winning podium and you're standing right behind them?
No.
We're almost positive it's you.
Probably not, actually. I left afterwards. I was pre-hypothermic and I had to get out.
All right. Well, hang on a second because I want to pull this up.
And there's a chance.
What?
But that was my second Spartan race. And anyway, so Josiah is on the list of people that have beat me that I've never beat because he's 1-0 against me. So I hope to God he comes back out of the season so I can avenge a loss.
Well, he said.
But anyway, sorry, before that, he was good. He only failed spear throw, and that was it. He was good at OCR.
Right, but there wasn't a lot to fail back then, Brakken.
No, but it was, I don't know if you were there. It was Sunday PM. We were the last wave.
I was not there.
Sunday. So they had already had several thousand people through the course, and it had rained all weekend. So even normal things like traverse wall and rope climb and the wood was in the middle of the woods, things like that were caked in mud from the whole course. So everything was trickier, and a normal runner would not make it up a muddy rope climb. That was back when we had to climb down into muddy water and then climb it. and we had just gone through a cold water swim, so your hands were really cold. So anyways, he made it through things that normal runners wouldn't. So he clearly has obstacle aptitude to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take your word for it. What do we
So
know
yeah,
about?
anyways, best of the rest, I would say Josiah would be the best, and Grant, and then Hellman. Is that his name? Hellman? Herman.
Herman
Herman.
Demick? This is a bad picture. What
Yeah,
is Herman known for? Let's see what it says here.
those two would be my next two.
He's a CrossFit guy. Doesn't have some. He played minor league baseball. I don't think they showed a lot of posts with him either. I'm guessing he didn't do too great because we didn't see a lot with him this past weekend. If we're using that as a judge, Corinna says she wasn't talked to hardly at all this weekend, which is surprising.
As far as I know, they had an agenda going in with who they were promoting the show around.
Well, I'd heard that too, but I also hear a lot of things that may or may not come to fruition. So I didn't put a lot of stock in that.
And we know from Eco Challenge and from Spartan Race that that is absolutely true. And then there are the underdogs or the dark horses that have to get some screen time that do well. But I assume that they weren't filming him a whole lot early on.
How many times were you in the storyline of Spartan NBC races?
Early on, a decent amount. There's smaller fields, and I was good then.
Well, I'm saying, but like, do you know how many times? Like, because
No.
we always saw like on the hills of Palmerton, and it was always Rose and Amelia, pretty much.
I mean, there was a streak there that I think I was on a podium for several straight, so I was featured in the show. But in terms of specials, I had one or two where I was interviewed, and they made the show around that. So
that's what I mean. So what were
one
those?
or two?
Do you remember what events they were?
For sure, Washougal.
Because you won that one?
No, I did not win, actually. I took second to Cody. It's the first time I beat Hobie in a race.
Good job.
He missed a spear.
It doesn't matter. That's what
it doesn't, but it does.
Dude, I that's like saying, I don't know what it's like saying.
I mean, I would argue the same thing you would, but
you're trying to be humble about it, I guess.
Yeah. I wanted a clean win over him for that first time, but I'll take what I could to get.
You should definitely take it. It's like, yeah, you'll take it. All right. Dude, if we do this for all the events, for all the men and all the women, it's going to take us forever. So we might want to think of a different way to look about this. I think we might, I'm realizing that as we're talking, like, boy, this is going to take forever, especially because I get sidetracked so much. So what's a better way to approach this? Who do we think? Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I've been hearing from multiple OCR athletes, anyway, I've talked to a lot of OCR athletes, that the scoring is not quite fair in terms of minimum effort.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
Well, I don't know. I think you've probably heard more than I heard. Going in, what I had heard before the event started was that they had minimal work requirements for certain events. So, for example, I had heard it was going to be a marathon trail race, not a 6-hour. So
Right.
that either changed last minute or my intel was wrong. But either way, I had heard there was going to be like 12, 16, 18, whatever mile cutoffs that you get points for minimum work. If you don't make it to 16 or whatever, you get 0 points, but you could drop out after 16 and get a certain amount. And that they would have to do something like that with the giant Atlas stone, the strongman stone pickups and things like that. But that it wasn't, the worry was probably what you've heard afterwards, that 16 miles worth of running wasn't equal to lifting up a stone twice your body weight in people's eyes.
Well, I had heard marathon, run, and really long bike. And when they said 5 hours instead, then I thought, well, it's probably about the same. Like the winners will do a marathon and the losers won't. But basically the losers could stop after half the work. That's what I've learned. And that's not cool. They should have made them walk the rest of the fucking time or something. Don't you think?
Yeah, because if you don't pick up the two heaviest strongman stones, for example, you miss out on points, but you don't really miss out on damage.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of damage, but you miss out on 10 to 20 seconds worth of exertion. If you cut out 3 hours into a 6-hour trail race, you've missed the damage. Now, a CrossFitter will have damage from hour 1 to 3, but nowhere near the pounding that happens in the second half of that race as everything accrues. And so, yeah, that is not a proportionate punishment.
Ryan Atkins proposed, I don't know what the proper word is, scoring to be done by percentage of leader. And that would be the best way to make it fair across all disciplines.
I like it, but how do you do that with predetermined weights like the Atlas Stone then? So if the winner gets all 5 in 20 seconds and you get 3 in a minute, how do you determine work there? That's my only question.
That's a good question, but if they could figure that out, do you think it works for the rest of them, right? So you can win by a lot or win by a little, and it still gives the leaders incentive to do even better, and it gives the losers incentive to maybe try more than they would have because they don't want to lose by the biggest gap possible.
Yeah, I didn't used to like systems like that, but now I realize it prevents bad versions of gamesmanship. Like you can toss an event or two to save damage, but you can't totally mail it in or you're out of the competition.
And that's what I think people are,
points.
And I think that's what people are afraid of with this,
Yeah.
is that basically saying the strong guys could coast and then crush the strong stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's very fair. So I guess we'll have to find out what the final results are to see if they were able to game the system or not. But I think, as you and I both know, that's how inaugural events go in fringe sports. If you ever want to win a competition, you better do it in the first year, because you can game the system. The scoring might be unfair. Not everyone shows up and no one's prepared for it. The first championship of any type catches everyone by surprise. So if you have any leg up, that's your year.
Interesting. It's an interesting
It's
theory.
not necessarily good, but it's good for whoever it works out for.
Thank you, Brakken. As I said, you can hear this entire episode, which is about an hour long, on our podcast channels. You can also support this program. If you love the content we've been bringing you, hop on the Patreon train for as little as $2 a month or $25 for the year. You get all kinds of exclusive access. We bring you early stuff. We bring you exclusive stuff. We have a lot of stuff that goes on in the group. It's a really fun time. So get on that Patreon train. Thanks so much for watching. We will continue to bring you all kinds of fun stuff as the days go on. Talking to Jack Bauer. We're going to do some projections with stats. It's going to be fun. All right. Love you, Mission Minute. I've got to run.